Greetings. I am Russ Hatfield, here with my twin soul Kara, who is a higher dimensional member of Ashtar Command. This lesson on coercion changes things up a bit because it is channeled by Omal through Mark Crocker. It is called The Karma of Coercion. In this lesson, Omal expands on Carrie's previous coercion dissertation we posted by reminding us that we have to be aware of the environment around us when using coercion. Also, how coercion can cause karmic paths to be changed in expanding circles, and that, on higher dimensions, the ability to know past lives makes the decision cut and dried. You can follow our online transcript in the link below at our homepage, centerforascension.org. Please subscribe if you want at the end of this video to be alerted to future channeling sessions, editorials from Kara and myself, and lessons from the Center for Ascension. And now, the karma of coercion.
Okay, now we have that rambunctious one out of the way. Let us address Kiri's coercion. That is a mouthful, is it not?
It is a mouthful.
Okay. Now, Kiri, talking about her responsibilities as a coercer, the calling of a feline. Yes, it is a good example. The fact that it is a young, nervous feline is a good example of fine control, and Kiri stating her awareness of the potential for harm is something that is important and necessary to be aware of in coercion. However, Kiri did skip over certain points that are necessary. When coercing, it is necessary to be aware of the person, but also aware of your environment. Most coercion that is done is simple, thought out coercion. I want you to do this. Come here. Go there. Sit. Stand. There is very little chance of harm coming in these situations. To take an analogy that Kiri has used a few times. You are at a rock concert and the person in front of you keeps on getting in your way. You coerce them to move to somewhere else or to sit down, or if they are being vocal, coerce them to be quiet. There is nothing wrong in this. This is for your enjoyment and entertainment. It is not for self-gratification. There must be a line drawn there. It is something that you have wanted to attend, the rock concert, the play, musical, whatever. The person in front of you is inconveniencing you, and they're not being considerate. They're not thinking about other people around them. So to coerce them is quite acceptable, because it is no longer a point of right or wrong, but of consideration and morals. Is it morally correct to talk or to get in somebody's way that is at a place for their entertainment? You are there also to enjoy. So by getting in their way, or somebody getting in your way, they are taken away from your enjoyment. And they are not being aware of other people. So morally, it is quite acceptable to coerce somebody to move out of the way, to do something that is an inconvenience. However, it is quite easy to cross over into grey and black areas of coercion at this point. That if you want somebody to move out the way and go somewhere else and annoy somebody else, they will. So that you have changed their karmic path from annoying you to annoying somebody else that was not in the equation before. So it is better to coerce a person to sit down instead of going away. So you have to be aware of how a small action can cause a bigger action. It is like the proverbial little chunk of snow down a slope. You drop the piece of snow and it starts to roll, and it picks up momentum and more snow and so on until you have an avalanche on your hands. And it is the same with coercion and the karmic pathway. You can use coercion to change somebody's karmic path for a possible better outcome. There are other uses of coercion. Any questions at this point?
Yeah, it's much simpler in 6th dimension to determine the usage of coercion than in 3rd, I assume.
Yes, it is. Okay.
Well, I mean, I know it's self-evident, but it's just you're able to look at, past lives.
Okay. Yes, it is self-evident. This is better than saying, yes, I'm raising my hand as if I'm waiting for an extra answer or an extra question. Let me explain more detail. As you stated, yes, past lives are in play. You are aware of your past lives and your past life interaction with the individual. Also, as Tia is fond of talking about, morals. That the moral understanding is more aware instead of black and white. This is wrong, that is wrong, maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong. With the moral equation added in to the coercion and the past life experience added in, then coercion is very cut and dry on, is it appropriate? No. Is it appropriate in this situation? Yes. And you know why. For example, Kiri coercing the feline. And we end up back there. The feline was sitting outside a cool environment. It wanted attention and warmth. By Kiri pulling it into the room, it starts to overcome the fear of people and other interactions. Now, if Kiri had been very clever about it, she would have had the feline come close, but stay out of arm reach and be warm. Sit in a blanket. Sit in a place where it can watch and be comfortable. To be able to go through the thought processes necessary for that feline to overcome its fear of people, instead of it not comprehending why the compulsion was for it to come into the room. In Kiri's case, it was a demonstration of coercion, plain and simple, on how coercion works and interacts. The moral issue was not addressed, even though I'm sure that Kiri considered the morals. The karmic issue was not addressed because there is no karmic issue to look at between Kiri and the feline. The feline was there just pure and simply by chance as a tool. But taking the moral issue, Kiri did the right thing. Not the way that I would have done it, but it was addressed. Any questions at this time?
Yeah. As we get more in tune with our consciousness and our superego, that will enter more into play and will then have a greater step towards that understanding, I assume.
Correct. And the reason being that with the vibrational changes, the necessary interaction of the subconscious The superego comes into play and no longer becomes subconscious. It becomes, back to the computer analogies, subroutines necessary for survival.
Excellent. Good. Thank you. That ties it all together nicely.